airport, also on an artificial island. Foster had competed in that same contest and lost, but this time in Hong Kong, he won and was able to bring his vision to life. This building is truly gigantic and yet remarkably light. It almost seems as if it could float away like a kite. A building, as I mentioned, with spans twice as large as those at Stansted, meaning everything is on a much grander scale at the Hong Kong airport. Yet, it somehow feels even lighter, thanks to the combination of natural light, very light colors, and the extreme slenderness of the structures. In France, he wins a competition, in collaboration with engineer Millau Viaduct, to design the Millau Viaduct, a colossal bridge. Notice that at its highest point, the bridge stands 275 meters above the Tarn River, yet, thanks to the twin pylons that open and then close, this colossal structure once again appears light and graceful. Just as light is the Millennium Bridge in London, which connects the Tate Modern with St. Paul's Cathedral, a project he completed shortly thereafter. The authority Foster gained from designing the building in Nimes and the Royal Academy allowed him to win what is arguably the most significant historical intervention of his career, the Reichstag. There is no building in Europe with more powerful connotations. The Reichstag fire led to the Nazis' final seizure of power, and the reunification of Germany brought the decision to move the capital back to Berlin and to use the Reichstag once again. This was an incredibly bold decision because the Reichstag was a building almost considered cursed, unusable. Certainly no German architect could take on this project. It had to be someone who could, in a sense, cleanse the building of its dark past. Foster proposed several ideas. First, to create a large dome that would allow people to ascend and stand above the parliamentarians, making it a place where they could view Berlin but also look down on the lawmakers to ensure they wouldn't go astray again, remembering the events of the 1930s. On the other hand, Foster proposed leaving intact the graffiti left by Russian soldiers, which were all obscene and filled with insults directed at the Germans. The Soviets took the Reichstag twice, the first time to eliminate snipers, and the second to stage the famous photograph with the flag, a symbol of the war's end, showing the hammer and sickle over the Reichstag, a flag that's in every history book, marking the end of World War II in Europe. After the photo was taken, the soldiers camped inside the building, covering the walls with graffiti that remains to this day. Foster told Helmut Kohl, the Chancellor of Germany at the time, that the graffiti should be preserved. Kohl agreed, but said it needed to be put to a vote in Parliament. The Parliament agreed, despite many finding the graffiti offensive. The decision was made to preserve these Cyrillic inscriptions, which mostly insult Germany, as a way to remember the dark side of their history. And to perform a kind of final exorcism, the artist Christo wrapped the Reichstag in fabric before Foster began the renovations. This act symbolized a fresh start, as if saying, "Let's begin anew." By wrapping the building, it was as though the past was being sealed away, allowing it to emerge as a new structure. From that point on, it could be used as the Parliament of the Federal Republic of Germany, with its dark history acknowledged but transformed. And indeed, here you have Foster, sketching the dome on the ground. This iconic design would become a defining feature of the renovated Reichstag, symbolizing transparency and openness in the new German government, allowing the public to literally and figuratively look over the shoulders of their representatives. This is his famous sketch, where you can see not only the glass dome but also the conical element that channels light down into the interior chamber. This cone serves both as a functional and symbolic feature, bringing natural light into the heart of the parliamentary space and representing the transparency and enlightenment that the new government aims to embody. And here you can see more clearly the conical element with mirrors that introduces natural light into the chamber. The upper part of the dome is reserved for visitors, tourists and citizens alike, who can observe both the city and the parliamentary proceedings below. Inside, the Grand Eagle, which was redesigned after the war to remove its martial appearance, still presides. The Germans affectionately call it the Fat Hen, and Foster attempted to give it a slightly more martial look. However, he was unsuccessful. He spent nearly a year working on redesigning the eagle and presented his ideas to 4 parliamentary committees. In the end, they decided against it. The consensus was that Germany, with its new parliament, should not revert to a more Bismarckian eagle. They decided to keep the Fat Hen, acknowledging that it might not look much like an eagle, but it conveys a peaceful image that they were unwilling to lose. The dome, as you know, is now a popular tourist attraction. Visitors can walk up the spiral ramp to take in panoramic views of Berlin while also observing the parliamentary chamber below, embodying the principles of transparency and accessibility that Foster aimed to achieve with this design. It's a must-visit spot in Berlin. If you're in the city, it's definitely worth waiting in line to go up and see everything from above. The view from the top offers a unique perspective on both the city and the workings of the German parliament below. The only proposal of Foster's that the parliament did not accept was his plan to use his signature palette of silver, white, and other light tones. Chancellor Kohl insisted that the space needed some color. In the end, they opted for blue seats and a mustard tone to add a bit of liveliness to the interior, different from the more subdued, monochromatic aesthetic that Foster would have preferred. But the same legitimacy that Foster had gained in historic building interventions was evident when he won the competition to redesign the British Museum. At the time, the library was being moved to another location, leaving the round reading room by Sir Robert Smirke without a purpose. Foster then created this grand, ethereal roof, a spectacular glass and steel structure that covered the central courtyard, transforming the space into the now famous Great Court. This intervention not only gave new life to the iconic reading room but also created a vast, light-filled public space at the heart of the museum. At night, this roof gives the museum an image of lightness and transparency. The glass and steel structure glows, creating a serene and almost magical atmosphere that contrasts beautifully with the historic architecture of the British Museum. It's a perfect blend of modern design and traditional elegance, making the Great Court a central and inviting space for visitors both day and night. I'd like to talk about some recent projects that, for various